in prison. She's been manhandled. She's been treated badly. She's been forced to the ground for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
This poor woman, she's got to hold her nerve. And, if she's listening to this, my message to her would be, hold your nerve, be brave, be strong, because yes, what you did was stupid, and I don't condone it for a minute, but the punishment that she's received is bang out of order. And now they're going to do everything they can to not let her get parole. And, Mike, it's frightening. It's really frightening.
Well, they're deliberately trying to provoke her, aren't they, into doing something or saying something.
Breaking today. Shock new developments in the case of Lucy Connolly, Britain's political prisoner, locked up at HMP Peterborough after a singular tweet, soon deleted on the night of the Southport massacre. Yesterday, I revealed her shock attack in prison by the guards who are meant to be looking after her following that visit from Reform UK's Deputy Leader Richard Tice. Big developments on this in the past few hours. Sarah Pochin, Reform UK's new MP, but a former magistrate who certainly knows the criminal justice system and how it works in prison, has said that Lucy Connolly is specifically being targeted now, specifically being targeted by the authorities behind bars who are desperate for her to put a foot wrong because they want to lock her up for longer. This is persecution, folks, of an ordinary woman because she has become the face, the horrifying face of the lack of free speech in the United Kingdom. And she's a good woman. I know she's a good woman. I know her family. I know her. She is a good woman. And what they want to do is try and prove that she's not a good woman, that she's causing trouble behind bars. So we're going to get into all of this today. But first, Richard Tice, in the past couple of hours, has introduced Lucy's law into the House of Commons and gone into really horrifying and shocking detail about this attack that she suffered last Thursday. Watch. Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars. If you may.
Imagine, Mr. Speaker, that that individual, whilst in prison, is allegedly the recipient of some violent maltreatment in prison, including being manhandled to the ground, handcuffed to the point where bruises 5 days later are significantly present on their hands. Imagine them being then dragged up not 1, not 2, but up 3 flights of stairs to the naughty girls' wing, as opposed to having been a model prisoner, having been promised to be taken to the good girls' wing. This is, of course, the consequence in a distant democracy where you think this cannot surely be valid. But, Mr. Speaker, it is with regret that I must bring you back to the reality of the situation, that actually this is the United Kingdom. And in the last few months, this has occurred.
It has occurred. And shame on the other MPs who left that House of Commons chamber completely empty. Everyone should care about this. Lucy Connolly could be your mother. She could be your sister. She could be you. We all know we're under threat for what we say under this authoritarian, slippery Starmer regime. Well, Sarah Pochin, the new Reform UK MP, decided to bring this topic up herself in an interview with Mike Graham on Talk this morning because she has some very important advice to Lucy because she knows that this woman is now being targeted. Remember, Sarah Pochin, a magistrate, up until she became a Reform UK MP. Watch.
Look at what's happening with Lucy Connolly.
Yes. Yeah, we spoke to Richard Tice, your colleague, yesterday. He was going to see her. He's now saying today that she's been mistreated in prison. Absolutely outrageous.
Well, this is what happens. And as I say, with my 20 years in the judicial system, I can fully believe it, sadly. The state of our prisons is such that I honestly don't believe that you can be sure as a serving prisoner to be treated let's just say fairly. And I think that woman, Lucy, is probably suffering quite badly in terms of they will try their utmost to make sure she cannot qualify for parole.
Yeah.
Now, I've said quite publicly as a magistrate of 20 years that the sentence she received was absolutely ridiculous. If anyone is a perfect example of someone that can be rehabilitated in the community,
Right.
She had no previous record. This sentence is unbelievable. I mean, shocking beyond belief. I cannot believe that it hasn't been overturned. I can't believe that it was given in the beginning.
Then Sarah Pochin had some very direct and very important advice to give to Lucy Connolly, given she knows that this is purposeful provocation going on behind bars. Now, I can tell you, by the way, that I have passed on this next clip to Raymond Connolly, Lucy's husband, who is going to play it to her, so she will very soon be aware of this advice from Sarah Pochin. Watch.
Yes, in prison, she's been manhandled, she's been treated badly, she's been forced to the ground when, for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
This poor woman, she's got to hold her nerve. And, if she's listening to this, my message to her would be, hold your nerve, be brave, be strong, because yes, what you did was stupid, and I don't condone it for a minute, but the punishment that she's received is bang out of order. And now they're going to do everything they can to not let her get parole. And Mike, it's frightening. It's really frightening.
Well, they're deliberately trying to provoke her, aren't they, into doing something or saying something. I mean, Richard reported that she's got bruises on her wrists. He saw them. I have no reason to disbelieve what he says. She was also put on a ward which was meant for very violent and sexual criminals, which is not where she should be at all.
It's utter intimidation. And as I say, my message to her is just keep your nerve. I can't imagine what obviously I've been in prisons, but I can't imagine what it must be like for her. And what's happening now is way beyond the crime. And that is not justice. And I've said before, what's happening with our justice system is wrong. We're meant to be the shining example to the world of a justice system. And in fact, a system that many countries in the world adopted as their own. But we now are letting ourselves down with this two-tier justice. And like you say, where are these guys that caused how many millions of pounds worth of damage at Bryce Norton?
Right.
What's happening to them?
I know.
That's not gone very quiet. Where are they?
I know.
My superstar panel are here, Father Calvin Robinson and the activist and citizen journalist Eddie Alexander. Now, Eddie, you were with me at court for Lucy Connolly's appeal hearing at the Royal Courts of Justice. Of course, it was a despicable sham of a judgment because she is the pin-up girl that Slippery Starmer has used to try and shut us all up. But wasn't that absolutely fascinating from Sarah Pochin, a magistrate from 20 years, someone who knows the prison system, saying this is intimidation. They are trying to stitch Lucy Connolly up behind bars, Eddie Alexander. It's so, so disturbing.
You're certainly right, Dan. And it's another line of events, whether it being Lucy Connolly being denied bail, whether it being Lucy Connolly being coerced into pleading guilty, being denied release on temporary license, when we all know that she was an exemplary prisoner. She was there's been no altercations in prison. She's been an example prisoner, and she's been denied release on temporary, assaulted by the prison guards, being put on a wing with murderers. This was a mother, Dan, who was outraged after the level of senseless, merciless brutality that we witnessed in Southport. And after we seen this happen, Dan, after we seen this terrorist attack happen, every single mother in the country was outraged and they was grieving. But it hit Lucy Connolly a bit harder than it hit everyone else, as she was still suffering with immense PTSD at the time of the tweet because she lost her infant son in horrific, horrendous circumstances, Dan. She put the tweet out 3.5 hours later, and she is still sat in jail now, over 324 days later, in a cell, I'm being told, which somebody died in. This was a
Correct.
woman, Dan, with no criminal record, with no brushes with the law, and now she is still sat in jail. This is awful. And I am happy that that people like Richard Tice has gone to visit her, but in my opinion, it's 324 days too late. How she is still in jail is absolutely awful. And the thing is, Dan, the most horrifying thing about this whole situation is this is all being coordinated by the highest levels of the Westminster establishment. Keir Starmer, his Attorney General Lord Harmer, Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood, the prison governor Ralph Lubesky, they are all complicit in prolonging Lucy Connolly's suffering. All you have to do is look at that mugshot of a woman. That is not a career criminal. There was over 20,000 violent offences in Northampton, which is where Lucy Connolly is from. There was over 20,000 reported violent offences in Northampton. And yet the establishment chooses to go after a mother, a wife, of upstanding character over a tweet. It is solely to make an example out of someone. That face is not someone who looks like they belong in prison at all. It is almost something like we'd see out of Stalin Russia. It's truly horrifying. And how she's not been released on temporary license. And it seems like they're doing everything they can just to twist the knife in even more. And it's truly horrifying. She needs to be returned immediately to her husband and to her child as well, Dan.
But first, this episode of Outspoken is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. And I'm very excited to say the heat has officially arrived overseas because the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in the white hot special edition colorway from Manscaped, now available across the UK, Europe, and Australia. So this is the same trimmer trusted by millions of men down below, now with a clean white and gold finish that looks just as smooth as it shaves. But it isn't just a pretty face. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is built to handle your most sensitive areas with care, helping reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, and irritation where it matters most. So whether you're cleaning things up for a date, a trip, or just to feel a bit more put together, the white hot trimmer makes below the waist grooming a whole lot smoother. Literally. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. And by the way, to the ladies in the Outspoken audience, trust me, this is a fail-safe gift for your boyfriend, your husband, your son, your brother, or your hard-to-buy-for male best mate. And it's great as well. Such a good product. The blades designed to glide over the skin with less tug and pull, helping the bloke in your life avoid the usual redness or irritation that comes with lower quality trimmers. It's simple, effective, and doesn't require a whole routine. Just pick it up, clean it, move on. Whether you're using it in the shower, on the go, or standing over the sink before a night out, the White Hot 5.0 Ultra fits into your day without getting in the way. Plus, the white and gold design actually looks so good. I don't think you're going to want to hide it in that bottom drawer of the bathroom anymore, right? White Hot looks, smooth results. The White Hot 5.0 Ultra brings the heat without cooking your skin. It's sleek, easy to use, and way less terrifying than whatever you were using before. So use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order. There's so much other good stuff at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with the code Outspoken at manscaped.com. But now, back to the show. And you're absolutely right to point out the fact that this cell that they transferred her to was for the unit of the most severe offenders or folk who are very mentally ill. You're locked in a cell for 23 hours a day. Someone had recently died in this cell, and the walls were covered in feces. And, you know, the prisoner trying to say, oh, it's coffee. It's coffee. It wasn't coffee. Trust me. So they are trying to punish her to such a sick and twisted extent, Father Calvin Robinson. But it's interesting, isn't it, to know that Sarah Pochin says, you've got to just stand by, allow this intimidation to happen, because they are clearly looking for something, Father Calvin. They are looking for this woman to put a foot wrong so they can say, she's not the choir girl that you've tried to make her out to be. She's a bad woman. And I know for a fact I've been trying to do this the entire time she's been in prison.
Yeah, Sarah Pochin is absolutely right in that our judicial system used to be held up on a pedestal around the world, and many countries copied our model. But unfortunately, we've lost what used to make it great, and it is all about those who speak out against the establishment at this point. And Eddie's absolutely right in that Lucy shouldn't be in prison in the first place. She shouldn't be there. Absolutely abhorrent that this mother, this wife, is in prison for social media content. It is world now where so many people are arrested on a daily basis for saying things that the state doesn't like. They say it's a Soviet regime. It really is. Country, and people aren't even realizing it. People need to wake up. This government needs to go, and all of this needs to be undone. We need a free speech law that protects the British people, not just parliamentary privilege, but everyone on the street, protects our right to say anything unless it's actively inciting violence, with a time and a place, like the laws they have out here in America. The fact that we have no free speech means we have no freedom, because the moment we say or do something that people in power do not like, this is what happens. Lucy Connolly is an example. Absolutely, she's an example. She's an example of how tyrannous our government is, how we lack freedom in our country, and how much we've lost our judicial system, a system that was held up around the world.
Absolutely. And the thing is, Father Calvin, Lucy Connolly has become the face of this movement. I think Eddie was absolutely right to point out, where was the rest of the mainstream media 329 days ago? Because we were covering this in the independent media. This wasn't some cause that I've come to when it was trendy. And it's also very important that we point out she's not the only political prisoner. Two who I am incredibly passionate about are Julie Sweeney, the grandmother, who is in prison for a very similar amount of time for a Facebook post, which was just sent to a small group of about 5,000 people. I mean, the case of Julie Sweeney absolutely breaks my heart. And also Wayne O'Rourke, who I think not enough people are talking about because, let's be honest, he's a white guy. But this man, who was a big supporter of Outspoken, had no previous convictions, is also the carer for his partner, and was sent to prison for 3 years for writing words and opinions on social media. So I'm going to be talking much more about the likes of Julie Sweeney and Wayne O'Rourke again in the coming weeks. But I think obviously what Lucy Connolly has become is the flag bearer for this type of two-tier justice. She is the face that people recognize. And it was pleasing to see actually Richard Tice yesterday. This is an interview that we haven't seen yet, but this is him outside HMP Peterborough, where he met Lucy Connolly, but also met with the head of security to make a formal complaint about Lucy's treatment. And as far as I'm aware, this is the first time a serving MP has described Lucy Connolly, as what I've been calling her, by the way, for a number of months now, a political prisoner. Watch.
Actually being treated as a political prisoner for political purposes. It's a pretty serious thing to say, but I've spent time with Lucy, I've listened, I've read a lot about it, and people are being released from prison, given rights for a temporary licence for serious violent actions, serious theft, and Lucy is a country mile from those categories.
He's then asked whether this case is undermining the entire British justice system.
Do you think that cases like Lucy Connolly's have undermined faith in the British justice system amongst the public?
Yes, I really do. I think there's a genuine concern that she is the victim of two-tier justice, and that's why actually having a democratic mechanism where the British people can say, hang on, are you really sure you've got this right, is the appropriate response to that, because it's a treble checking mechanism, and actually I do trust the gut instinct of fairness of the great British public.
Well, Eddie Alexander, good on Richard Tice for this. Also, huge big up to Rupert Lowe, who has been on this story right from the start as well. And I think his petition has over 164,000 signatures now. His call is to lock no one up. No ordinary folk should be locked up for something they post on social media. But where are the rest of our MPs? Just too terrified. You know, where's Chris Phil? Where's Robert Jenrick? Come on.
I think that's what's most horrifying about this situation is, although we've had some good MPs doing some good work, a little bit too late for my liking. I think they should have been on it right from the very start of this madness, to be honest with you, Dan. But the fact that there are still some MPs who are coming out, still trying to justify this madness, I believe that's incredibly wrong. But everyone who you speak to, I think Rupert Lowe's petition smashing nearly 100,000 signatures within 24 hours. I think that sends a message that the normal people, the normies, because like you referred to earlier in your speech, this could have been your mother. This could have been your sister. This could be you. And with the government constantly moving the goalposts closer and closer when it comes to freedom of speech, the people who are still trying to justify this appallingly long criminal sentence. Think about if Lucy Connolly would have been physically assaulted by a man. That man would not be receiving that sentence in jail, Dan. If she would have been sexually assaulted, if a child would have been sexually assaulted, that man would not be receiving that sentence in jail. So it's a good thing what Richard Tice is doing, and it wholeheartedly shows that the amount of normal support, normal people who are backing Lucy Connolly, absolutely up. But we've still got a very, very long way to go. And although it's a step in the right direction, Dan, let's not forget that she is still sat on a wing with gang members and murderers. And I am incredibly concerned and worried about not only her mental health, not only people like Wayne O'Rourke's mental health, as he was suffering from his mental health before going into prison. I'm also extremely worried about their physical health as well, Dan.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.